Rise and shine. Good day. This is beautiful Monday here in LA. And I'm so happy to meet you again today for another show, another amazing adventure with another amazing guest. This show is about people thriving in this world through consciousness and through the embodiment of the values they hold dear to their heart. And most of us on this show are corporate refugees or people who have decided to shift into a different gear, shift through the decision to create a different life that they hold dearest to their heart and not according to other principles that are perhaps part of the corporate structure or the patriarchal structure or any type of structure that doesn't belong to the way they want to live their life. So this is today a show that will be super interesting. We are hosting Jenny Lewis. Welcome.
Thank you.
Jenny and I met at a conscious capitalism event recently, actually right before Christmas. Mm-hmm. And I quickly got to be very drawn to her energy and to all the things that she talks about in her world. Jenny is a teacher and life coach, and she's just launched a podcast that I can't say I love because I haven't heard any of it, but I love the title because the title is Sex, Race, and Money, which obviously relates to everybody's life. I mean, these are three themes that are extremely pertinent to anybody's life. Mm. And of course, dear to your life, and so many questions. I don't even know where to start. So Jenny, welcome.
Thank you.
And so we both live next to the beach. Jenny is in Venice. I'm in Marina, and we share the beautiful sunshine of LA and California, and we're both not from here. I mean, are you from New York? Actually, this is where you were before, but are you from New York?
I grew up in New Orleans, actually.
Oh, you did? Yeah. That's why you were talking about New Orleans. Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're both choosing to be here in California because this land feels quite sacred and quite full of beautiful energy, and we love it. So thank you to California for hosting us.
Very true, very true.
Yeah, and so Jenny has so many amazing things to share that I'm really wanting. My intention for this show is really to pull out all of the yumminess that you can share with us and allow our audience to understand more about sex and more about money and more about race. And so tell us why you actually decided to call this podcast Sex, Race, and Money. What is it that in your life called you to explore those themes?
In my personal development life, I've noticed there's certain aspects of my life that cause me to really look in and grow in ways that I wouldn't. And they're usually the things that give me the most pleasure and the things that give me the most pain.
Pain and pleasure.
That's right. And so for me, that's sex, race, and money.
Okay.
And
which probably is for most people, right?
Maybe. I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself.
Okay.
Yeah, so those have been my best teachers. And so that was the reason why I wanted to call the show Sex, Race, and Money. And because honestly, they bring a lot of pleasure and pain, but honestly what they bring is me to myself. Mm-hmm. Me to finding my self-worth, me to finding my full expression in the world, and me to finding like what life's meaning.
Mm-hmm. How did you come closer to this realization?
Of sex, race, and money.
Mm-hmm. Being your pain points and pleasure points in your life.
Yeah, I think for probably the first one is race. And I did this exploration of my core beliefs and patterns. I don't know, just things that I believed were true in the world, and looking at them to see if they really were, like with a microscope at a class that I did 4 years ago in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. And I
on race.
On just my patterns generally.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so in looking at these patterns of behavior, I saw really the beliefs that a Black woman who grew up in the South would hold. And I thought it was really interesting because I lived in New York at the time. I'm an attorney. I worked in the discovery department at a large law firm, so I didn't practice there, but everything about was corporate attorney about my life. And I thought it was really interesting because for all I could see from the outside, I had moved away from the South. I was living in a very different and successful life, and yet all of my core beliefs were still very much embedded in like a deeply Southern belief system
paradigm.
And I thought I was just like, how could I still be like running this? And I saw it like even in law firm there was a lot of hierarchy and rules and and a need to really work hard in order to be worthy in some way, like work really like in this particular law firm work extremely hard, like and so I realized, I haven't escaped this at all. I haven't escaped these core beliefs and this way of being at all in the way that I thought that I had. And so race was really the first one for me. I was like, this is going to be interesting to undo.
Was it an attempt to go to New York? Was it an attempt for you to escape those core beliefs that were deeply ingrained from perhaps a Southern mentality?
I think, the answer is yeah. I think, and interestingly, the thing that brought me to New York, like honest and truly, was that I saw opportunities to invest money there and make money there and have a flavor of career there that wasn't so cookie cutter, and that I could be creative and really stretch myself and see what I could do. So it was the desire for money and investment and like full expression that brought me up there.
So in essence, whatever we do on the outside never really seals or heals what is going on the inside. We can't escape what goes on the inside. So then you were brought to face what was going on the inside, and race was one of the core beliefs or the themes around which your core beliefs were holding you back from living truly the life that you had imagined.
Yeah. And those core beliefs, I don't think without the program I would have ever even known were like running me in the way that they were. And we've talked about it. There was a shift in my life for almost 5 years ago now. There was a shift in my life where I realized trauma, and that was the thing that happened when I was a kid, and that was the thing that really shifted and allowed me to begin looking deeply at like how I was running my life. And so one of the things was the first thing that I picked up was race, from like having a fresh look at like what am I doing with my life and how do I really want to run it. Yeah.
So then once you actually were able to shed some light on the core beliefs around race for you, does that mean today that you are able to live a life that doesn't have as much of a racial paradigm, or does it mean something else? How did that impact your life today? How do you live your life as a woman with a darker skin? Does that have any impact?
It's interesting. What it has shifted in me is it's more about the way that I show up. Like I am not. I don't, when I walk in the room, I don't automatically go to the perceptions that I would have assumed before.
Right.
Like
so you don't perceive yourself as any different.
Right.
You just go into that room as holding yourself powerfully.
Yeah.
Showing up powerfully from within, from all you know that you are.
Yeah.
And not extending those old core beliefs onto people in that room.
It's true.
Beautifully.
Yeah, it's almost like as though society were a puzzle, and I was one of the pieces. And so I would walk into a room and fit my piece right into the puzzle, and we would go on like with the same old thing. And the puzzle would look as it was supposed to, but because I've shifted in some way, like I don't fit into that paradigm in the same way. It does not mean that I won't, and really very little. It does not mean that people won't say things to me, but they just don't hit me in the same way that they used to.
Right.
Like they're not mine, They're not. They don't belong. Yeah.
I love this testimonial of yours right now, because not only is it so powerful because it comes from you being a woman of color, and in this society we have so much. We as women hold so many distinctions in terms of our power. We as women can look at how we experience this world in many different ways. What I always talk about and what I stand strong for is that we have a choice. We have a choice to put on glasses and look at this world in a way that will either give us power, because we know what our power is and we know who we are and we stand strong in that truth. However, in order to stand strong in that truth, we need to do the work, as you did. But in essence, the miracle, I believe, lies in how we perceive ourselves. When we perceive ourselves in the most powerful, truthful, authentic way, then we show up that way, and we are then perceived that way as well. But it all starts with us. And so I love that, this has been your experience and you've shared it right here with us, because it is such a beautiful testament to what I'm always talking about and wanting women to understand, because I think that is true power right there.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. To stand in your sovereignty and full appreciation of yourself, like, and lovingly with everyone around you.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then came what, sex or money?
Then I think came sex. The money practice, I think, is something I've always been interested in, but like the deeper money practice came later. Sex came next. I mentioned earlier the trauma memory that came back, and so once I had done...
You mentioned it with me, but I think we need to come back to this for our audience, because I think it's really important that you mention the trauma memory that came back, which of course means that there was a trauma to begin with. So there was sexual abuse to begin with when you were little. And so you then all of a sudden remembered that trauma.
Right.
About 4 years ago, you said?
About 4 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And before we get on to what follows, can you share a little bit, how did that trauma memory come back? Like, did you even do anything for it to come back, or did it just pop up? Was there an instigator event that brought it back, or?
It was... Let's see. I think when I look back on it, it probably doing things to like create the conditions for it to come up for probably a year before. I had started doing sitting meditation, and then I met someone who taught me how to feng shui my apartment. So, and what ended up happening was I cleared out a lot of the junk in my apartment, like. And honestly, I didn't think it was that junky. Like, I'm not really a junky person, but like to get it to a state of like clarity, a lot had to go. And so, and things that I couldn't even see. Like, I thought everything was pretty well utilized, but there was just so much. And I ended up renovating the apartment, like really like taking out walls and things.
Right.
And so.
That was more than feng shui. You went all out.
I really did. That's kind of the way.
That's a woman on a mission.
That's the way. I mean, I was like, it was like I was driven. It was like I was possessed.
Here I come.
possessed,
Yeah.
ready
Yeah.
to be sitting here in this chair with you. And so I think the feng shui, and then like from the person who taught me the feng shui, he had a deep meditation practitioner that he suggested I go to, and I started doing a deep meditation with her. And it was in one of those meditations that the memory came back, and it sort of just flooded in very intensely.
Were you surprised at the memory?
I was. I think I was surprised, and yet it had been kind of popping up every once in a while, and I thought that it was odd or strange, and I couldn't explain it. I was like, that's really weird. Why would like a thought like that come into my mind? And then I would put it away. And it's probably around this year period, of transformation. And so, but then it came all the way through in that moment. And it was a really intense afternoon, and through the night, like they all flooded back in, and then by the morning, like I think my psyche just needed a rest, and so things had calmed down. But it was a very intense period for me, like where I really like went deeply inward, and I would still go to work. That was really important for me to have that
Stability.
Yeah. But when I wasn't at work, I was reading constantly and learning, and like.
So it's not like the memory came back and you tried to avoid it or were scared by it. It sounds and feels like you embraced it and you wanted to go deeper to understand what happened.
Yeah. When it came back, the thing that I said to my boss the next day was like, I finally got it. Like, I understand. Because there were just things that I wanted to be able to do in my life, like ways that I wanted to be able to speak up and use my voice, and I would always hit. It was like I would hit a wall. I couldn't go all the way through, and even to a certain extent in my relationships, I would hit a wall. It was just like a revel. It was like, okay, this is the key.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah, this like healing, this will get me all, like this opens everything up. And so for me it was, and just the feeling in my body, we talked about this too, is it was just like a being released from a prison is how I felt, I mean, I'm talking about like it in a very, all of the positivity of it, it was deeply traumatic, it brought a lot of sadness and sorrow and a lot of fear, especially in that first night. But there was a freedom in it that was undeniable. Yeah.
And if you can share also with us, how do you know today that this trauma and this abuse, this sexual abuse, actually carved your life in a lot of ways before you realized? How did it impact your life in your personal, intimate relationships, in work, in the way that you probably perceived yourself? Can you share that?
I think the patterns that I see are, I spoke about the voice. There was a way that I could not speak up when I was wronged, or when someone was not treating me unfairly, or with less integrity. Like, and it was a constant frustration for me of not being able to do that in the moment, and that was one way. I think in a lot of ways there were the relationships that I have with friends and family, and my dating relationships, and even my sexual relationships. They were limited. They were very limited and very safe. So the person I was dating, it was very much a friendship with sex, and we didn't live together, and we would see each other once a week, and it was. and that was about as much intimacy as I wanted at the time. And so I think the same in my friendships. They were all very nice, and they were very. I would give a lot. I would feel that was needed in order to have people want to be with me, and so there was just a lot of just of not seeing myself, of feeling like I needed to create a safe and very contained spaces where I interacted with people. And, I really just kind of hermited away in many ways. And but at the same time, constantly seeking approval of my self-worth, through others, and being willing to like do some pretty intensely. I give myself really like overly give myself in order to have approval, like, and without even thinking that it was too much. So there was that in my work. There was that. I don't know. I think in the sex it was pretty shut down. It was like, I mean, not shut down. It was
safe.
It was pretty engaged. It was engaged enough. Probably
Right.
pretty average. I think it was loving and kind because we had that deep friendship. But there was in no area of my life a willingness to go beyond the realm of to put trust in anyone else in my care. There was definitely not that happening.
Probably including yourself.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I think there was only so much that I was willing to try or do. And those were the things that I had tried and done before, I mean, there were these big leaps that I took, like the move to New York was pretty unprecedented for everyone around me. But there was, but within that, there was like in New York, I kept it really safe.
And so, what has helped you bring up the level of trust within yourself? And of course, when that happens, we then trust on the outside more. We personally talked about One Taste that you have. So tell us a little bit more about how that has helped you, this organization, and when did you actually become familiar with One Taste? Right.
So I had the trauma memory and did a lot of work with an acupuncturist, and then I did this course that I talked about with all the patterns and core beliefs, and brought me to the realization of race. And then after some healing happened, probably a year or two after that, then I thought, okay, what can sexuality be? Like, what does it mean as a human being to be sexual? Like, I really want to understand it so that I can engage in it again, like in a fully conscious kind of way. And so that brought me to One Taste. Like, I was reading Regina Thomas-Auer's book Pussy, and she mentioned it. So I was like, okay, I'll just try some things, and we'll see how it works.
You're pretty adventurous, because for someone who's gone through this type of trauma and having to deal with the after effects of trauma, because it's one thing to not know you've been traumatized and live in that realm, but when you finally get to know, some people go into more of a victim attitude and, spend more time dealing with the trauma than moving on and wanting to elevate and wanting to learn more. And so from that to going to One Taste, I applaud you. Because I mean, I know of One Taste. It's an organization that has been presented in my world with Tony Robbins, and I haven't participated yet. Maybe that will be something that I become open to. I don't know, but I know of it, and I have friends who are part of it, and so it takes. I know it takes quite a daring decision and openness.
Yeah, it did, and honestly, like it took me it took me the 2 years, to get to a place of wanting to learn more, and it was time. And I think it's just the way of my being to want to like leap forward in that kind of a way, like leap forward, and yet within it, it's interesting. I'm just having this realization. Leap forward, and then when I'm in it, take the time that I need.
Right.
And so
well, that's really how we grow. We leap forward.
Yeah.
We need to kind of, be with that, and then we leap forward again.
Yeah.
Right. And then we're with that, and those are the stages.
Yeah. It's funny. The realization that I just had was, I'm always saying, I don't know that I can take a risk because I don't want to be so uncomfortable. I don't know how I'll be in it. I won't do it well, like all of the stories. But actually, throughout the course of my life, I have made these big leaps and created quite a good amount of safety. And
definitely, I can be the witness of that for you right now, because from what I've heard, you definitely have taken quite a bit of risk, and asked for uncertainty to be the essence of that space. Definitely. So good for you.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about One Taste and what it is.
So One Taste is I don't have the official description of One Taste, and
please
actually,
forgive us for the official description, but
I am an attorney after all. Let me get it right. But anyway, so
are you a teacher for One Taste actually, or a practitioner?
I am actually a certified teacher. I haven't taught. I have taught a couple of classes.
Got all you need to describe what One Taste. Go for it.
And they're not teaching in person anymore. They may launch an online program.
I heard that. Yes.
But back in the day when they did, I was part of it last 2 years. And what they do is they teach around sexuality, but they also teach a lot around, it's a further study in core beliefs, through 12-step work, through intensive classes, and then just weekend classes and evening classes, just ways of creating. I think in essence, it was a lot around creating intimacy and comfort and intimacy and an ability to really look within and really know yourself and allow yourself to be seen and known, right? From a place of using your voice. That is what One Taste meant to me anyway. And so I began studying with them. There is a practice that they do and coach around called Orgasmic Meditation, which I'm also an Orgasmic Meditation coach, which is a 15-minute practice of clit stroking. There's all sorts of structure around how that goes in order to create safety. Like there's a timer, and there's very strict rules around how to create the particular container for that.
And it can be with your intimate partner in life, or it can be with a chosen intimate partner
Either
that
one.
you may not know intimately,
right? But
you get to know intimately.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's right. So so that is a practice that they have. That practice I didn't immediately start doing. It was one that took me a lot of time. It was something I knew that I wanted to do. And that I knew would be helpful for me. I didn't know why. It was more like an instinctive kind of thing. And the teaching, what I learned is that through the practice of orgasmic meditation, there is a deep meditation that can, an intimacy, an ability to create intimacy, a practice of intimacy, that when your body opens to it, your life opens to it. And so for me, it was about first just the intimacy of allowing a man and trusting him to hold that container and that space in the way. That was really important for me. And then once that happened, there was a lot around just like, can I let my guard down and feel here and still be safe? Can I climax here and still be okay with myself? Like those were the initial progression. That that was the initial progression for me as I began to Om, and then as that happened in Om, it happened in life.
Right. Om is the practice of
Om
the
is,
orgasmic meditation. Right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
called oming
Yeah.
or to om. It's actually become a verb.
That's right. That's it. Thank you. Yeah.
And so I have a question regarding the principle that this orgasmic meditation would be practiced, I would say, more in the favor of the woman's orgasm rather than the man's orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
The practice is about connection to the feminine by both the person being stroked as well as the stroker.
Okay.
And that happens through the stroking and the contact and the energetic bond
Exchange.
that's
Mm-hmm.
created.
Mm-hmm.
So what's been found is that the stroker really feels what the strokee feels.
Mm-hmm.
And through that like attention and attunement, I've found in the strokers that I've been with, they really and the holding of the feminine, there's an attunement to that the basic instinct of what it means to be masculine as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like what it means to really hold the feminine, what it means to feel the feminine within their own bodies, the emotions and the attention that.
So the intention is really for the masculine in the man to familiarize himself with the feminine energy in that woman, and also through oming, in order to elevate the feminine,
in order to
protect the feminine, all of the above.
I think I think that's a part of it, and it's about also the feminine within themselves, because when the energies meld, the feminine within the stroker is also allowed to open and be felt. Because of the contact with the clitoris and because of the feminine within their bodies. I think the masculine pieces of it, like holding the container, setting up the nest, holding the container, holding the time, those are actions which are a practice in holding the feminine. And strokers can be women or men. So it's so these this feminine masculine is very fluid and contained within the bodies of both beings. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so how do you teach this today? Who is your clientele today? Is it I'm assuming it's not mostly people who have been abused. It's people who want to explore more of themselves, of their sexuality and intimacy in general.
Right.
Yeah. And is that something that is, how do you experience that teaching? Not only the practice, because the practice sounds like you've learned a lot through the practice yourself. And I'd love to hear more of what it's revealed for you so that we share that, but also in the teaching of this practice, how does the teaching of it bring you to a different level?
Yeah, I think the clients that I've seen, you've gotten it right. Like they're women who are like myself, wanting to learn more and connect to intimacy and sexuality.
Is it starting first through the women? Is it more women who are wanting to learn more about their own body and intimacy, or is it both men and women?
It's both, yeah.
Okay.
It's both men and women. And there are also couples who are looking to explore and within their relationship. So the way that what it's taught me is just there's such a beautiful release that I experience in people when they're allowed to just talk about their sexuality freely. You know, there's a desire approval, just to be, you know, as they are, that I find really, it just kind of opens my heart, you know, to it's freeing. It's like that, that the allowance
back to that,
out of the cage.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's allowing one to not only have a voice to say what feels good, doesn't feel good, and the other to receive that as well. And it's an exchange of voice, in fact.
Yeah.
An exchange of heart.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is probably one of the most challenging topic for most people, right? How many people have straight on conversations? How many people, in terms of couples, have straight on conversations about their sexual intimacy?
It's really true.
I am sure that the percentage is low, right? Because we don't. I mean, I'm only guessing that, you know, people wouldn't want to open up because they don't want to hurt the other one, hurt their feeling. But in fact, it's so freeing to just talk about whatever we want to talk about. What is the big, you know, we have such conditioning from society in terms of how we want to be perceived and what should we talk about, not talk about. How about we just create that reality and that realm and that paradigm according to what we really want and what feels good to us, right?
Yeah. And then everyone gets to, like, be met where they are.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That is an important part of the stroking process, is that the person being stroked tells the stroker, you know, where, left, right, up, down. And, you know, faster, slower, you know, instructions on how to stroke. There's a, you know,
there
there's
are
a
rules
whole,
and
there's
regulations.
A whole thing. And I'm only giving pieces, but
it has been designed according to an outcome that is for the best, for the best of both partners. So obviously there are, you know, I'm sure rules and regulations. And have you, as a teacher, have you encountered people or couples that for whom it didn't work? Is that?
I think there are couples who will try it and then stop, and then maybe come back to it later. I think that's part of practicing anything. Honestly, is trying it and stopping. But yeah, I think it's not. It's only something. It's like anything. It calls to certain people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like self-help or
self-development. Everybody knows their thing.
Everybody is inclined to grow at different times in their life. And so to conclude on that, because we want to also address money, which of course I believe all of those are related, right? Right? And as you said at the beginning, I'm not sure if that's what we said personally or what you said at the beginning, but the way that we hold our core beliefs, whether they are conscious core beliefs or unconscious core beliefs, usually they're the unconscious ones, really rule, those core beliefs rule sex, race, money, and so many more sides of our lives.
That's it.
Right? So to finish with, or to wrap up with sex in terms of one taste, and in terms of how has that really served you to be where you are in your life today, which I perceive as a much freer woman, much more liberated from within you, with you to begin with, right?
Yeah,
it's really that path and journey that is most important. So what else has it brought to you?
It's really, there's this intimacy piece that it's brought to me, but then there's also a real sense of sovereignty. Like we talked about this with race too, like an ability to ask for ohms, or ask for sex, or ask for whatever it is I want, and whether the answer is yes or no, have a rightness in it. and to know
And be okay with it.
and be okay with it.
That
And
answer.
that using my voice in that very vulnerable way allows me to use my voice in many other ways. You know, the adjustments in the om, as I talk about, you know, the left, right, whatever. All of that is a practice in deep intimacy that allows me to open up and be right with exactly who I am.
And so now we come to money.
Yeah, money, my favorite.
Your favorite?
I think
Favorite of the three?
I like money a lot, I have to say. And I think it's particularly up for me.
Don't we all like money? Except that you are admitting to the fact that I love money. I mean, but again, we all have unconscious beliefs, fears, and patterns that hold us back from being totally free and, I would say, unencumbered with money.
Oh, yeah.
So
many.
take it on.
Money. Let's
Money.
see.
Yeah, I mean, we left this for the end. How much time do we still have?
I don't know.
Crap, maybe 10 minutes.
All right, we can do it.
9 minutes.
All right, let's see. Money. Money is the thing that brought me to New York.
Okay, you wanted more money.
I wanted more. I knew that I could invest there. Excuse me, and I could make more money there than I could in New Orleans.
Right.
And I don't know, true or not, I did do it. And so
so this whole journey started with money.
It really kind of did.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I grew up in like a lower middle class family in New Orleans, so money was always on. You know, it was something we had to consider before we made any choice or decision. New York really freed me and opened me up a lot more when it came to money because there was more to have, more to be made, and more ways to invest that I felt there. And I had a lot of friends who helped me really well. So I sold everything and moved to LA, and now I'm studying money from a different perspective, like from a place of understanding the core beliefs of it, which is a very it's kind of thrilling. Like I get to use some of the freedom. I think of the three, race, sex, and money. Money was the one that I've had the most freedom with for whatever reason, and throughout my life. And then, but I'm realizing through my money study now, the thing that I'm really having to drop into is, where will my money come from if it doesn't come from like a corporate structure, which is a deeply embedded core belief that I have. And so it's like I'm an entrepreneur now, so I have to ask people for money. I have to find my self-worth and value in the thing that I'm offering, which it does not look like a lawyer or a doctor. It looks like a life coach and a teacher who is teaching about sex and race and money and like where do I meet people?
Very different. Yeah. And the way to present it and
is always
the energy
different.
you have with it. And absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, this is a deep practice in self-worth and trust in something bigger than myself.
Absolutely.
Which is like a big game play, which I'm down for. And
and all of this time you're talking about the fact that you want to remain safe. I don't know. I think that's one core belief that is out the window now. Done. That is bullshit. Sorry.
I think the real Jenny Lewis is out.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Okay, so then.
Yeah, so money. I think there's just a lot. There's a lot of rewriting the script, like jumping into trust and an abundance, without. There's a lot. There are many nights when I wake up like with a lot of fear, which I'm actually grateful for because then I get to look at all of that stuff.
Exactly.
With
fear is our GPS.
Yeah. What happens when my savings run out? What happens?
I know.
Yes. And so
I have the same. Yeah, I go through the same thing.
Yeah. And so there's a real trust in like it presences me because usually I'm thinking like months and months out and trying to plan and really, it keeps me in the present and in my body. Because today I'm fine and I'm okay and things are really good. And there's so many outlets and areas and opportunities that are coming my way, and it's really about and so maybe I'm not great at them right now, like certain particular things I want to get better at, like with my teaching or with my the way that I manage things in this new entrepreneurial way. But every day I learn how to do it better. Like I'm so much more. I moved from New York last year, and I'm in a completely different place than I was a year ago. And a year from now, I'll be in a completely different. And so it's a trust in knowing that I will constantly be growing into the vision and the woman that I know that I am. And the money is a part of that, you know. And it's actually my guide, one of my guides to it.
Yeah. Yes, me too.
Yeah.
We share that commonality, and it's amazing how much it teaches me, and I'm sure it's the same with you, as you're saying. You wake up in the middle of the night, and you've shifted from a world where there was money flowing in a regular way, and now it's flowing differently, especially at the beginning, because we are both at the we are both at a stage of development in terms of the businesses that we own, given the fact that we've just arrived in LA. And so it's shifting, and reutilizing a different network, or an absent network,
or the creation of a network,
the rebuilding of a network, and so for me, coming back to square one in terms of rebuilding a different business on a different platform in a different area, with a different network, with a different service, with a different everything. Basically, let's just put it that way. Has been very challenging, and at the same time very rewarding, because the fears that come up, as you say, are my GPS, are really all those fears are what allows me to come back to my truth, what allows me to really challenge my truth. So is that really true that I'm going to run out tomorrow? No, it's not. Is it really true? So this question that I love, is it really true that? Boom, boom, boom.
I like that.
Fill in the blanks.
I like that too.
It's just such a powerful, simple little question that, that bring us back to choosing to see and experience life and those fears in a different way. For me, in the last year and a half being here, it has brought me back to choosing joy. So it's been my platform, or my trampoline. The money fear has been my trampoline to come back to joy, and come back to joy, and come back to joy, and just ad nauseum, basically just continue to do it until it's no longer a fear, and it works. I mean, at some point, when you face that fear and you dance with it, as I like to say, because I love to dance, it no longer holds you. You hold it in a different way, and you can transmute it finally, and just say, okay, I'm done. I'm done with you. Okay, you can go now. Right?
Thank you.
And thank you. Exactly. Thank you for showing up in my life. Thank you for showing me what I needed to see. And that holds true with everything in our lives, right? It holds true with personal, intimate relationships, parenting. I mean, we all have fears. It's a question of choosing to use those fears for the best of our path, journey, growth. And so that those fears just don't hold us. It just feels shitty to be in fear, right? It's very freeing to finally say goodbye, be grateful, and say goodbye to a fear. And I'm not sure how much time we have left, but I think it's about 1 minute. Okay. So fascinating. We could keep on going like this for a couple of hours. At least I could. I don't know if you could.
I think it's great.
I think we're gonna have to come back to, maybe we have to actually take each of these themes individually and go deeper in it. That would be really fun.
Yeah.
Like go deep into sex.
Go deep into race. Go deep into money. I'm
Yeah.
down.
That would be really, really fun.
I love it. I love it because they all just bring you back to your own self-worth and trust in it.
And it's truthfully about I mean, we do a lot of work. We've chosen to do a lot of work on ourselves in order to then teach. And in the teaching doesn't mean that because we teach, we're done with this work.
Oh, no.
Right? Oh, no. As my daughter says, Natasha, she always says, Mom, there is just no freaking pause button. Where is the pause button? So the teaching part is our way to continue practicing, learning more about ourselves and about people, and serving people to the best of our ability.
Absolutely.
Because that's what we're here for. We're here to serve. Yeah. So I'm so grateful for you.
Oh, me too.
And to come to share this space and conversation and to be truthful so that we give a little bit of little seeds of truth, little seeds of learning to everyone who is listening. So thank you for joining as well. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah. And I think we're going to come back to sex, money, and race individually and create a triad.
I like it.
Thank you so much. Okay. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.